Hi. I remember the exact moment it happened, the way time seemed to fold in on itself like a sheet of paper creased too many times. It was an ordinary Sunday morning, sunlight dripping through the kitchen blinds, the scent of brewing coffee, her humming some song I couldn't place as she flipped pancakes in her robe. My ring tapped softly against the side of my mug. A quiet rhythm I didn't realize I'd grown used to. Comfort, I guess. Familiarity. Could you pass the syrup, honey? I froze. Not because of the word, but because of how it came out of her. Effortless. Reflexive. Not clumsy like a mix-up between babe and sweetheart. No, this was instinctual. Like her mouth knew something her mind hadn't caught up to. She didn't even flinch when she said it. I handed her the syrup, and in that passing moment, my hand brushed hers. She smiled. The kind of smile that used to undo me, soft, tired, unguarded. But I wasn't undone this time. I was undone long before. I just hadn't realized it yet. She called him honey. Not me. It wasn't my name on her tongue. Not the way it used to be. That simple word held weight now. Not a pet name, but evidence. Of intimacy. Of practice. Of repetition. I didn't say anything. Not then. I just sipped my coffee, and I felt the ring burn against my finger like it no longer belonged to me. It's strange, you know? The way betrayal doesn't always come like thunder. Sometimes, it comes dressed in your wife's robe, barefoot in the kitchen, humming Fleetwood Mac. We'd been married 11 years. Met at a wedding neither of us wanted to attend. She was the maid of honor. I was the best man's cousin, stuck in a suit too tight and shoes too new. We bonded over our mutual disdain for small talk and buffet shrimp. The night ended with us sitting on the hood of her car, passing a flask between us, watching stars we couldn't name. She made everything feel light back then. Easy. Even her laugh made me feel like maybe the world wasn't so heavy after all. We weren't perfect, no one is. But we had a rhythm. A private language built on late-night drives, forehead kisses, inside jokes about people at brunch. I thought we were solid. Until the little things started adding up. It didn't begin with honey. It started months before that, subtle shifts. Missed dinners. Locked phones. Sudden silences between us that used to be filled with music or dumb banter. She'd touch me less. Or touch me like I was furniture. She started sleeping with her back to me. That one hurt more than I expected. But I made excuses. Because that's what love does, right? It blinds you just enough to tolerate the erosion. I told myself she was tired. Stressed. That the distance was temporary. That every marriage has seasons. Peaks and valleys. I didn't want to be the suspicious husband. The cliché. The guy checking phone logs or following her car after work. And besides, she still smiled. Still said I love you. Still held my hand at church, her thumb gently rubbing the back of mine like she always had. So I buried it. Every doubt, every moment that fell off, I shoved down deep. Until that morning. Until honey. She didn't even realize she said it. That's what wrecked me the most. It was habit. She'd called him that enough times for it to roll off her tongue without hesitation. It wasn't a slip, it was routine. I was a stranger she'd grown familiar with again, briefly. A stand-in, maybe. And he was the real script she'd been rehearsing with when I wasn't around. After breakfast, she kissed my cheek, said she was heading out to meet Sarah for a quick brunch. I nodded. I watched her grab her keys, slip on her boots. I watched the door close behind her. Then I took off my ring. No ceremony. No speech. Just reached down and twisted it off like I was finally removing a splinter. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even feel angry. I just felt done. Done pretending not to notice. Done explaining away shadows. Done being a placeholder in my own life. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't just hurt because of what someone did to you. It hurts because of what you let yourself believe about them. About you. About what you had. And once that thread snaps, everything unravels. I sat there for a long time, holding the ring in my palm like it was something I'd dug out of a fire. And maybe I had. Maybe I was finally seeing the ashes. But I didn't know what to do next. That's the part they don't tell you. The quiet after you realize it's over. It doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like standing at the edge of a cliff you didn't know you were on. And she was still out there, having mimosas with Sarah, or maybe someone else entirely. Laughing maybe. Calling him honey. I just stared at the ring in my hand, listening to the tick of the kitchen clock, and wondering how I missed it all. I kept the ring on the kitchen counter. Didn't hide it. Didn't throw it in a drawer. I left it right there, beside the fruit bowl we never really used and the stack of unopened mail She always said she'd sort tomorrow. A silent announcement. Not a scream, not a confrontation, just a quiet declaration. I knew. She didn't notice the first day. Or the second. Maybe she saw it and chose not to ask. Maybe she was waiting for me to bring it up. That was her pattern. Make the mess. Wait for me to clean it. The distance between us grew louder after that. We still shared the same bed, but it felt like two different countries. Separate climates. Separate time zones. I stopped reaching for her. Stopped kissing her shoulder in the mornings like I used to. She stopped humming. Stopped asking if I wanted coffee. Conversations turned into logistical exchanges. Bills, dinner, dry cleaning, the occasional "did you feed the dog?" No more jokes. No more pauses just to look at each other. She didn't call me honey again. Not once. It's funny how silence can become its own kind of proof. The thing is, I didn't want to catch her. I wanted to be wrong. Desperately. I wanted to believe that I was just a tired man misreading the signs. That honey was a blip. A bad dream. That we were just in a rough patch. But you don't take off your ring over a rough patch. One night, a week after the syrup incident, she left her phone on the couch. That used to be normal. She never used to guard it. But in the last year, it became an extension of her. She took it with her to the bathroom, slept with it under her pillow, turned off previews, added a second lock screen. But this time, she forgot. It lit up once, 11:43 p.m. A name I didn't recognize. Just an initial and an emoji. Innocuous. Easy to miss. But I didn't. Then another. And another. Rapid fire. One word flashed up before it locked again. Still up. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Instead, I got up and went to the guest room. Slept there without saying a word. She didn't ask why the next morning. And that's how it started, the quiet separation. We became roommates. Co-owners of a sinking ship. We cooked in silence, ate in silence, lived in silence. And in that stillness, I started to grieve. Not just her us. The version of us that used to dance barefoot in the kitchen. The version of her who used to leave notes in my coat pocket. The version of me who believed that love was a fortress. She wasn't cruel. She didn't yell. She didn't deny me affection in obvious ways. But that was part of what made it so hard. There were no smoking guns, no lipstick-stained shirts, no shouting matches. Just decay. Just the slow, invisible unraveling of something that once felt unbreakable. A few weeks later, I started going on long drives. Nowhere in particular. Just miles of open road, windows down, music low. I needed air. Space. A way to think without hearing the echo of her voice calling someone else by the name she used to call me. I talked to myself during those drives. Not in anger, more like confession. I'd whisper things I couldn't say out loud. I miss who you were. I don't know if I failed you. I wish you'd told me the truth before I found it in a single word. I even started therapy. Quietly. Just once a week, in a small office above a bookstore. I didn't talk about the affair right away. I talked about time. About trust. About how hard it is to carry weight that no one sees. How sometimes it's easier to be the quiet one, the good guy, even when it breaks you in half. The therapist asked me once, "What are you still hoping for?" And I didn't know how to answer, because part of me was still hoping to be wrong. Until the day I found the receipts. Buried in the glove box of her car, under an old map and expired insurance papers. Two of them, from the same hotel, 2 weekends apart. One during a weekend she told me she was visiting her sister. The other, a work conference. Both signed in her handwriting. Both for rooms with 2 guests. That was the crack that split the whole thing open. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just paper and ink and a name she hadn't bothered to hide. I sat in the driveway for an hour, the receipts in my lap, the engine still running. I wasn't angry. I was relieved. Because now I could stop pretending. I walked inside, past her in the kitchen, where she was on the phone, laughing at something someone said. She gave me a nod, like we were still playing house. I didn't stop. Just went upstairs, sat on the edge of the bed we no longer shared, and stared at the dresser drawer where I used to keep my ring. It was empty now, just like the space where trust used to live. And I knew, then, with a kind of cold clarity, this was the beginning of the end. Not a fight, not a confrontation, just a quiet unraveling that neither of us would dare admit out loud. But the truth had been spoken, in a single, effortless word. I didn't confront her. That surprises people when I tell them. Those few I've trusted enough to share the story with. They always ask the same thing. Why didn't you say something? and I don't have a neat answer. Maybe because by the time I had proof, there was nothing left to fight for. Maybe because I knew whatever she'd say, whether it was a denial or an apology, wouldn't change anything. She made her choice long before I found those receipts. Long before she called another man honey in our kitchen. And honestly, I think I made mine the moment I took off my ring. The rest was just waiting for the right moment to leave. I started small, gathered my important documents, transferred some money into a separate account she didn't know about, changed my mailing address for things she wouldn't notice, bank statements, health insurance, credit card alerts. I wasn't hiding it from her. I was just done explaining myself. The last night we spent in the same house, she came home late, perfume still fresh, her eyes glazed with something I stopped trying to interpret. She kicked off her heels and dropped her bag by the door like everything was normal. I was already packed. Not in boxes. I didn't want a scene. Just a single suitcase and a folded envelope on the dining table. She barely looked at me. "Hey," she said casually, heading toward the kitchen. "Want anything? I'm starving." I studied her for a second. The curve of her shoulder, the way she moved like nothing was wrong. How she'd grown so used to living beside me without actually seeing me. "No," I said. "I'm heading out." She turned, confused. "Where?" "I've got a hotel for a while." Her face didn't change right away, just blinked. "Why?" I nodded toward the envelope. "Everything's in there." She didn't open it, just stared at it like it might catch fire. "I don't want to yell," I added, "and I don't need you to explain anything. I just wanted to tell you this in person, so you wouldn't come home to an empty house and make up a story about it." She stepped forward, arms crossed, not in defense, but uncertainty. "Is this because of work? Because I've been busy?" I almost laughed. Not bitterly, just at the absurdity of how long we both pretended. "You called someone else honey in our kitchen," I said gently. "I didn't make this up. I just finally stopped pretending I didn't see it." She didn't deny it. She didn't confess either. She just sat down at the table, slowly, as if her knees gave out. "Was it that obvious?" she whispered. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. "I didn't mean to," she started, but trailed off. "It just happened. We were friends. It got complicated. I didn't plan it." I nodded. "I believe you." Her eyes searched mine for something. Anger, tears, maybe even hope. But I didn't give her any. Not because I was cruel. Because I had nothing left to give. "Are you going to tell everyone?" she asked. "No," I said. "This isn't about revenge. I'm not interested in being the victim in anyone's story." She looked down. "I thought we were okay. I mean, not great, but..." "We were tired," I said. "That's what we were. And you found something that made you feel alive again. I just wasn't part of that picture." She wiped at her cheek. Not full tears, just the edges of one. "You really loved me, didn't you?" she asked quietly. "I still do," I said. "That's why I'm walking away. Because love doesn't mean staying when it's already gone." There was a long pause. Just the ticking of the clock and the hum of the fridge between us. "I'm sorry," she said, and I think she meant it. I nodded again. Then I picked up my suitcase, walked to the door, and paused only once, to take one last look at the home we'd built. Not the walls, not the furniture, the memories. Sunday mornings with pancakes. The time we danced barefoot to old records. Her laughing so hard she cried on our 3rd anniversary. It all happened. It was real. But so was this moment. She didn't follow me. I didn't wait for her to. I stepped into the night air, cool against my skin, and it felt like the first deep breath I'd taken in months. Maybe years. I drove to a small inn just outside the city. No traffic, no music, just the road unfolding in front of me like a clean sheet. That night, I slept with the windows open. The next morning, I woke up before the sun, made coffee in a tiny hotel mug, sat by the window, and listened to the world wake up. Birds, wind, the occasional passing car, and silence. Not the suffocating kind we had between us and the house. This one was peaceful. The ring was still in my pocket. I took it out, held it in my palm one last time, then placed it on the nightstand. Not out of anger, not out of grief, but as a marker. The end of one chapter. The beginning of another. I don't know where this road leads yet. I don't have a plan. But I know I won't settle for being someone's placeholder again. I won't ignore the small moments that speak loud truths. I won't let love become something I have to earn by shrinking myself. She called someone else honey, and I took off my ring. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is leave quietly and mean it. Bye-bye.